and welcome to Today in Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone, and we continue our election series with Ward 3 City Councilor Jeff Dillon. Welcome, Jeff.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you to Woburn Public Media for having this format and having us come out and talk about a job that we need to do and meet the people, and you do a great job of getting their word out to everyone.
Well, I am, thank you. That's very nice of you. I actually feel very lucky and spoiled that I get to ask all my curious questions of everybody. So I am very much enjoying it. And I feel very lucky because you are my city councilor. I live in Ward 3. And so you have been wonderful and responsive and get out in the community. I see you everywhere. How do you make time for it all? It's a lot.
Well, I think that's a big part of our job, to get out and volunteer at the different events that need some help, or whether it be a social event. It's part of what I think we're elected to do. Go out, show that we have roots in the city, that we're involved in the city, and that we care so much about the city that we're out there making the time.
Well, I'm so grateful to live in a community that is a city and has many of the benefits of being a city, but that our city councilors and local government in general is pretty approachable. And I can't say that everywhere I've lived that has been the case, so I'm appreciative of it.
I think that's a real great point you bring up. It's a very important part of the job. I want to make sure that someone calls, emails, texts. Thanks to you, I'm pretty good at this Facebook now.
Poor Jeff. I have tortured Jeff because I know he doesn't love Facebook message, but it's like my thought process always happens there, and he's such a trooper. Thank you.
I'm actually using it, so you converted me over.
But mission accomplished, Jeff.
It is important for us to be out there and just show that public that we're interested in what their ideas are, what their concerns are, and help them navigate through the process of city government, which at times for the just ordinary citizen, I'm sure can be overwhelming. We have a great Woburn page that if you spend a little bit of time on, you'll really be able to navigate the system quite well. But even with that, there's a couple things that some constituents have brought to my attention that I'm actually working with the IT guy to see if we can fine-tune it. So it's important to be out there, listen, and hear what your constituents need and want changes made.
Well, I think that is an incredibly important part. I want to talk about a couple things that in Ward 3, we're super lucky because there's 2 schools that we now have an opportunity to turn into some open space of different kinds.
Yes.
So the old Hurled School and the Plimpton School, which has been closed, I think, since I moved in 25 years ago.
Yes.
But certainly it's been closed for many, many, many years. And I know you've actively worked to take community input into what we do with those spaces. I also know these are long projects.
Yes.
It's not like next week we're going to have a park in those places, but tell us where we're at and how the community can get involved.
I do agree with the public. Being in the private sector and running a business for years, I am used to things happening quicker than the government process allows. And there's a reason for that, and I get it. But the Plimpton, right now, the mayor is working on a grant to provide money so all the files that are stored there can be transferred over to the microchip or whatever it is it needs to go on to.
Digitized, right?
There you go. And get stored properly. So he's working on that grant, and that's moving along. And then there's one person working out of the Plimpton now, which as soon as the new fire station is finished, he'll be transferred over to there. And it's time to get the Plimpton School down, and it's time to get whatever the neighbors would like to see there. The general feedback there is a very simple green space park, which would be very nice. So we're moving in that direction. And again, in the meantime, it's important to keep it clean, safe. And Len Berman at DPW has been working with me. I drive through there weekly, if not bi-weekly, just make sure everything looks good, and he's very quick to respond of any suggestions of mine or the neighbors. As far as the Plimpton, the Hurl School's perhaps a longer project than that. At Plimpton, you're probably looking a good 3 to 4 to 5 years. It's a much larger site, more going on there with storm ecology, park, and trying to get some wetlands in there, reclaim some wetlands, some walking trails, and a small park. So that's being looked into as well with grant money. So far, a lot of the beginning stages have taken place in planning, and no city funds have been used. It's all been grant money, working with different places that have been providing the grants. Mystic River Watershed Association has been one of the big ones, and they've been great to work with.
So I'm going to ask the obvious question.
Sure.
Clearly one person, we can squeeze them in somewhere else.
Sure.
And the files, I imagine, are substantial, but perhaps could be moved, because my understanding is the money to take down the Plimpton is allocated.
It is appropriated.
It's
correct.
appropriated. Money to do anything else past that is perhaps not.
Yes.
Correct, but
Yes.
to demo down.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is, but for those people, I've had a few people who reached out to me and says, feels like we're throwing up some excuses there
Sure.
to not take the money's appropriated, it's one person and a bunch of files. Why can't we just move the files? And I know there's good reasons, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to address
And that's a fair question. And I'll answer it this way. I know in my own business that I go to work every day and work in, everything has slowed down. To try to get a contractor for demolition, for asbestos inspection, for anything in the trades, electrical, plumbing. So things are really tight right now as far as just getting the contractors in there. Now, is that the main problem? I do believe that the man knows the neighbors want to get this done, and he's going to get it done. And again, it's just a matter of getting all the pieces put together and getting the contractors. And if we are shy on the demolition costs, which has been already appropriated, he would need to come to City Council and ask for more, which I will lobby my fellow city councilors very aggressively to do so. So to answer your question, it is time. And I know Mayor Galvin feels it's time too, and it will happen.
Good. Well, thank you for the updates on those. Now, that isn't the only part of Ward 3. What are some of the other challenges, but also opportunities that residents and neighbors are sharing with you and you're excited about?
Yeah, I would say the part of this job I like the most is interacting with neighbors and constituents that have concerns, suggestions, ideas. One of the things that I recently did was sat down with a young man who just graduated from college, and he's an abutter over at the Hurl School, and he put together a nice PowerPoint presentation for me, and we looked at it together and we walked the grounds. So to see young people involved, it's encouraging. Us older people, you know, as you get older, you feel obligated to give back to the community. I know I've always wanted to run for public office, but it just wasn't the right time. And you look at it now, it's because I was working 2 jobs perhaps, or working too much. And for the young people that are interested today, it's such a great thing to see that they make the time now and try to make a difference. So
it really is a wonderful gift when people take the time to do that. I feel really blessed. There's a lot of pretty amazing people, and just this last year I did a couple of very simple things, right? Things that didn't take a long time. You know, we did a snowshoe lending program through the Woburn Rec, and we got a menorah put on with the other holiday decorations that we put up, and it was incredible to see how many people jumped in and were eager to help in all different kinds of ways, from DPW and the mayor saying, of course it can go on the lawn, to, you know, helping set it up and running the electrical, and community volunteering to sing the prayers that are necessary for it, and Rory over at the Woburn Rec jumping in and doing it.
She
Those
does a
things
great
happen,
job.
right? When families are involved and young people are involved in doing it, and not just, old fogies like us, right?
I have a few more years than you. You bring up a great point that we are so blessed in our community to have so many people in City Hall that they don't just come in and punch in and out during the course of the day. They really care about the community. I say community because I substitute that for city. City is a definition of just people. Community means togetherness. It has a feeling about it. And I know so many of them at City Hall, and if I start naming them, we'll go right through the whole half hour, so I won't do that. But Rory is one of them. The love she shows for her job and the kids in the community. Just sit with her for 10 minutes and you'll know.
Yeah, and one of the things that I want to compliment you on, but also, some of your peers are really good at, is when someone does have an idea in the community, we are a city that people can become involved and to take as something. Now, some things take a very long time and are big infrastructure projects, but some things just takes a few weeks and somebody to spearhead it. And I know you are always welcoming of people bringing those ideas to you.
Absolutely. I may not always agree, but I'm going to spend the time to keep an open mind and make sure that I'm hearing you out, because once in a while I do change my mind.
You did on Facebook, so I know
Right?
it's true.
Exactly.
I know it's true. I was thinking this morning, Jeff, back to probably the first time we spoke when you were running for city council last time. And I hadn't met you before, maybe a hello somewhere, but hadn't spent any time. And one of the things that you were passionate about at that point was a crime watch program,
Yes,
a neighborhood
absolutely.
watch program. And I'm curious, obviously a lot of things changed over this last year and a half and made other priorities much, much more urgent. But is it something you still feel we need, and what would you like to see happen there?
Yes, I'm actually, that's one of the points I'd hoped you bring up. I do hope that now that we can have a fairly good-sized setting and get some feedback and see if there's an appetite for it. I've spoken to many of my constituents, my neighbors, and they feel like they'd support it. But like with any organization, it's not something that I can do myself or the city. It takes volunteers. It takes a lot of hard work. Years ago, my wife and I, when we just had the kids were very young, we were very involved in it. And it's a real commitment. Yeah. And I'm hoping now that we can put together at least a meeting and see if there is enough people that want to get involved in it. I've spoken to Chief Rufo, and again, I often say this, we have a police force second to none. The men and women in our police force not only protect us, but all you need to do is go to a community event. I had the pleasure to go to the last couple football games on Friday nights, and as well as watching the game, my official duties as city council come out, and I watch how the policemen and the policewomen intervene with the kids, with the adults, and every one of them. How you doing today? And that's so important. It's so important that we're fortunate to have that in our police force, that they not only protect us, but they're out there to be our friends as well, and to guide us when we need it.
Yeah, I do feel, we've had some terrible things that have happened in our city. That happens everywhere in the country, and we need to take those very seriously. But generally speaking, I feel pretty safe in our city, and we're very lucky to have a police force that allows us to do that and has enough, I'm sure we could use more staff and use more equipment and a whole bunch of things that we can use, but for the most part, we're able to generally serve very well. And to your point, every time we have an event or community activity, they are there and they're supporting the community and making sure that everybody feels safe and seen.
Well, we all want to keep our taxes down, and I understand that. And I'm extremely sensitive to that, especially folks on a fixed budget that may be elderly and on Social Security or a small pension. This real estate market that we are having is great for so many people, but we have to watch the balance too. We have to remember the senior citizens that fought wars for us and sacrificed so much to make sure we enjoy the liberties we have today. And the last thing I want to see is that they can't afford to live in Woburn any longer. So it's a real balance.
I don't want all my babies to have to move away either.
No, no.
My kids are now, young adults, and they're not near ready to buy homes, but they will be. And I don't want them to have to move far away.
I don't blame you. It's something we really need to look at, and I know it's market driven. I've been a real estate broker since the early 1980s, and I understand all the parts of it, but we really need to take a look and how to make sure, as you say, people who want to continue to live in Woburn can continue to live in Woburn. We hear about many of the apartments being built and quote-unquote affordable. They're not quite affordable, at least not my pay scale.
I think largely speaking, most people would agree.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, my mother sent me a picture today, and she sent me and it was the first day my husband and I, and my house was a 2-family when I first bought it, and it's no longer that. My sister and her husband and their infant baby, and my husband and I were moving in. We're standing proudly outside of our house on Kilby Street. And boy, that's unrecognizable, the street, right? And the house, because so much has changed since then, but we were really lucky. I bought that house 25 years ago. I probably couldn't buy that house now. So I feel lucky. I mean, that's wonderful for a homeowner. Our property values have go up. Those are good things for us, but it makes it hard for new families and those who are on fixed incomes to be able to make their roots here.
My wife and I are very blessed. We have my daughter and her husband and my 2 grandsons, 2 houses down on Sheridan Street, and they live in the plot of land that my grandfather from Ireland came and built his house on. Now since then they've taken the house down and built a new house, but the same land. So it touches me to know that 6 generations are on that piece of land, and that's why I do what I do for the city of Woburn. It's I owe the city everything I can do to try to make it the great place that I grew up in, the high school. It's not the same high school, but it
right,
is.
sitting right here in the studio today, right? This didn't exist this nicely before.
It's not the same high school, but the spirit is there. When I was sitting up in the stands watching my great nephew play football Friday night. It's the same spot.
Yeah, we are very lucky. There's a lot of good things and a lot of good opportunities to grow. I'm going to talk for a minute about businesses. So in Ward 3, there is lots of residential. There's also some businesses which you represent. What are some of the opportunities you see for our businesses there?
We have some car dealerships. We have some repair shops. We have Woburn Brake down there on Wynn Street that's been there forever. Dick is a friend of mine, and I've been taking my cars there for repairs. And we owe the businesses just as much as we owe the residents as far as the support. They're an important part of our community. They're part of the reason that we can keep our tax rate at a reasonable level and also have our public health and safety with the police and the fire. Let's not forget about the fire department.
Absolutely.
Chief Kenton and his men and women do a great job in looking out after our city. The restaurants in town. I've met you at a couple of the restaurants.
I like to eat out. I'm real big on supporting those restaurants.
I'm with you. We enjoy being able to jump in the car and drive 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and right downtown. Downtown is a work in progress, and certainly it took a hit with the pandemic. We lost some good businesses, and it's sad. So we in City Council, and I know I met with Mayor Galvin a number of times, trying to look at what we can do to help our downtown businesses, as well as the businesses throughout the city that have struggled, and some of them haven't made it. And again, tough to see. No fault of theirs. No one had a blueprint how to handle this going through business. And it's on the uptick, though. I'm optimistic that we're through the worst of it, and the businesses and companies and restaurants that we have now have figured it out, even in tough times. And that shows such spirit and dedication. And you're not going to kick me out. I'm going to come right back at you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're really lucky. We have seen some new restaurants in particular open, maybe not other sort of venues. One of the challenges is labor.
Yes.
And help, and I know that there's a limited amount of things that City Council or the city overall can do to help there, but is there any, sort of creative task force or community forums or things that we can help with to help fill some of those gaps?
Yeah, I think the City Council and City Hall need to look at this and see if we can't do something. I know all the City Hall jobs are posted. I saw your Facebook the other day saying something about recreation.
Yeah,
job
someone
out.
was looking for
So-
like what they called mother's hours, while the kids are in school, and I had seen Rory's post, so I suggested they go check that out.
And the smallest step like that may change somebody's life to such a positive way that it helps them out. As far as the employment situation, you never want to say it's a bigger problem than what we have, because the buck stops here. If we have a problem in the city, we better figure it out. One of the things that I've spoken with Mayor Galvin, and he's reached out to me knowing the business that I'm in, and we've actually have spoken with State Rep Hagerty's office as well, is a tenant preservation workshop that would like to put on here in Woburn. All that federal money to help people pay rent.
Love it.
And from my last checking, only 11% of it's been used. So there's a great amount of money out there.
Oh, what a great opportunity for us.
And here we have all this money that can help people in need, but whether it be they don't know how to go through the forms, they don't know where to go to get it. Well, fortunately, in my regular workplace, we actually set up a program, and I was in charge of it. And we collected over $100,000 for people that were going to be displaced, and they got
You
on
just
rent.
warmed my heart for the day, Jeff. That is what a wonderful, and what a great solution. It exists. Let's help people access it. I always think of, when I think of the job stuff, I don't know as much about the high school in this regard, but in Woburn High, but like Northeast, which serves Woburn students, they have a wonderful co-op program, and they have a restaurant and business majors there. And so maybe there's an opportunity to make some connections to the Voc, which we might not automatically think of, to help some of the restaurants who are looking for staff, or some of the stores and things that need some smart young people who want to learn on the job.
That's a great idea as well. Regarding the tenant preservation program, it would be something that would set up and hopefully get some interpreters there as well to help people who have problems with English, and just guide them through the process and see if we can help our own community. That would give me a great amount of happiness and pleasure. And it's a win-win. Not only are the tenants getting their rent paid, but the landlords are getting their rent too. So there's no losers in this situation. And I've been doing a lot of looking up different programs and study, and it just doesn't seem to make sense that it hasn't been used more. So that's one of the things I'm working on right now.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. It's a great way to help tenants, and to your point, landlords who have to, pay their own mortgages and bills and the things that they, support them. So I love that. That's a great example of what we can do in the community. I can't wait to, when you're ready to do that, let me know. We'll have you back on. We'll talk about it, and we'll get some folks to translate and make sure they can do that.
We'll get you involved in getting the word out.
Yeah, well, we'll help, and we'll bring in some folks who speak more languages than I do to make sure that
Me
it's
and
in.
you both.
It's sort of embarrassing. I lived out of the country for most of my adult life, and I'm very lucky I spoke English, because I'm not linguistically gifted, and I was not able to easily learn another language.
Well, Well,
So.
my friends and family will tell you that I'm still learning English. So.
You do great. You do great. I know we only have a couple more minutes, but I want to use that time I know that you are easily accessible to folks who call and email. Your contact information is on the Woburn City site. But I'm not sure that everyone reaches out to you. They don't always think about it. So I want to give you an opportunity to share where all those places are.
Sure. Best way to get me, I'm like everyone else now. I've probably used my home phone once in the last 4 years. My wife runs the messages if someone calls here. Cell phone's the best way. 781-460-3298. And then, of course, in my email for the city, jdillon@cityofwoburn.com, and Messenger. I use it myself now. So anyone who has anything I can help them with, and or guide them or navigate them through the system, I'm always glad to help.
Yeah, thank you for doing that, and it's an incredible gift that we have city councilors who can help us, even if it's not something that you do directly. To your point, direct people towards the right resources in the city and know how to do all that stuff. I love it. Before I let you go, I want you to tell me a couple of your favorite Woburn traditions. What are some things you love?
Woburn traditions. I'm walking in, I'm looking over at the football field, Woburn-Winchester football game. How can you not talk about the parade?
It is kind of amazing, right?
Flag Day is such a great day too. I've said this before, my love for the library has no boundaries, and Hom Pond. There's just so much to do here. I think sometimes we don't stop and look how blessed we are. As I'm getting older and we're closing in on retirement, my wife will talk to me about maybe we'll buy something in Florida for the winter. Okay. And just the thought of even moving from Woburn for 3 or 4 months or 6 months, I get nervous. I don't want to go anywhere.
If she asks you right after the next major storm out of coming in from shoveling, you might be a little more willing.
We've had mild winters, but she says to me, this could be a deal breaker. I said, I know, this is a problem. I says, I'm not going anywhere.
Woburn is a wonderful place. I don't blame you. Yeah. We're really lucky to have such an amazing city to live in.
It's a blessing. And do we have work to do?
Yeah.
Of course we have work to do. We need to become more inclusive, and that has gone much better over the last how many years you want to talk about, but there's always room for improvement. And how do we do that? I might not agree with you, but I'm going to give you the time to listen. And even after the listening, I might not agree with you, but I'll still respect you.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I think that's a really important thing. And I will tell you that I often will ask people, who in local government do you admire, some of the new people who are running, and your name has come up more than once. And it's always accompanied by how accessible you are and how much you're out in the community and how much it's very clear you care. So thank you.
I appreciate the kind words, and that means the world to me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Woburn, as always, please continue to take good care of each other.